So for those of you who can't tell, I am not the oldest movie reviewer on YouTube. A lot of reviewers have been doing this longer than I have, and I don't have the highest production value. You can hear people running around upstairs. I'm working on it. But the reason I'm addressing that is because 8th Grade was a movie that was very interesting to me. Because 8th Grade wasn't that long ago for me. It's been about 4 years. And I've, being in high school, I've still seen a lot of freshmen coming in and, what youth is like currently. And the reason that spoke to me so much when I was going to see this movie was because it seemed like its ultimate goal was to be a realistic representation of youth, in a sense, of middle schoolers transitioning into high school and dealing with parents and dealing with social anxiety and friends and relationships and all that good stuff. And it seemed like a lot to pack into an hour and a half because it was a year of my life. And so I was very interested to see this movie. I had heard rave things about it. I admit to being slightly on edge with the trailer. I thought it looked kind of and I thought the cringe factor of it was a little high. Luckily, though, a lot of that stuff is in like the first 10 minutes, and then it's kind of past it. But I thought this movie was excellent. I thought it was very well made. I think that ultimately, if its goal was to be a realistic depiction of youth, it definitely succeeded in that. And I think that this will be a movie that 10 years down the line, people will say, oh, you want to know what kids were like back in 2018? You want to know what high schoolers and middle schoolers were like? Well, this is a movie that you should watch. I think it's one that to show your kids. If you're a parent and you have a child getting to this age, I think it is definitely one you need to show your not your kid, that you need to watch. I almost wish it wasn't rated R, because I think it's a necessary movie for a lot of kids to watch, and I know a lot of parents are strict about that and won't let their kids watch it, but I think parents should definitely watch this because it is an unbelievably accurate depiction of how youth is. Not the whole time. I think my only real complaint with it was there are one or two scenes that are stretching it a little bit. I think they're playing it for comedic effect, but it kind of, in doing that, loses some of the realism that it has. But the reason that the movie is so realistic, I'll keep using that word, and so grounded, I guess, is because it is written and directed by Bo Burnham. I haven't seen much of his stand-up. I've seen clips that my friends have shown me, and I found them entertaining. But he is a 27-year-old guy. He's not a 45-year-old hack trying to write a high school film like so many writers in Hollywood continue to do, despite the fact that they continue to be unsuccessful. He has a relatively keen understanding of youth and how people younger than him act, because he himself is not that old. Take like Ryan Coogler when he did Creed, which I thought was one of the best representations of, like, not youth, but younger people living in modern society, and I think it's important to have a younger person making that because it's been more recent for them to see what life is like in that area of your time on this earth, and it certainly is an interesting time for kids, and this is definitely a movie that's going to be fascinating to watch in 10 years, when, personally, I hope things are a little different, and you can go back and watch it. But I was sitting there the entire time, being a high school student, saying, I know 6 kids like this person. I know 8 kids like that person. My best friend is like that person. I mean, it was crazy. Characters were coming on screen, and they were so well developed and set up and performed in particular that I was just sitting there going, this is like my friend coming to life on a screen. It's crazy. And especially the main girl, Elsie Fisher, I think, I'm sorry. She's great. she is excellent. She is very natural. She's given a script that I would like to know how much of it was her doing and how much of it was actually Bo Burnham's writing, because it seems like she's throwing a lot of really neat stuff in there, a lot of really neat vocal inflection choices and mannerisms, and just she's so awkward and it's so perfect, but her character develops so well, and that I do chalk up to the writing. I think that Bo Burnham didn't put anything in this movie for no reason. Even the scenes that I thought went a little too far in terms of just trying to go for pure comedic effect as opposed to realism. Every scene serves a purpose primarily in developing her character, because that's what the movie is about. It's about her going from this socially awkward stage to trying to become more confident and fit in. And it's a story that we've all seen hundreds of times, but this one is one of the best because it's so condensed. The movie only being an hour and a half is a very good choice. They don't pad it with a bunch of shit that does nothing. You know, there are no scenes in here that are just there to be like, hey, I remember that from middle school. Every little thing does something to this character. It has an impact on her mentality, somehow, some way. And as a result, we find ourselves with a very strong connection to this character, not just because of how well written it is and not because of how well performed it is, but largely because most of us went through this stage of our life, right? 8th grade as a movie, it's forcing you to relive some of, like, the things that you hate about yourself. I look back at 8th grade and I just, like, it makes me fucking wince at how I was. I might have been making YouTube videos for this channel. If I was smart, they're all gone. But I think about myself and what I was like and how awkward I was and how weird I was, and it makes me cringe. And I think that most people look back at their middle school selves and are like, man, I was so weird, I was doing such dumb stuff. And this movie, it's so well done and you're so immersed into it that you keep getting hit with these moments in this movie that you're like, shit, I remember doing that. I remember saying dumb things like that. I remember acting in a dumb way around people like that. That's why no one liked me. You know, like you're getting that kind of shit. And that comes a lot from your connection with this main character. I think a lot of people see themselves in the character of Kayla, and I think that's why a lot of people are liking it. I personally was not a girl in middle school, so I had a little bit of a different experience. It was similar, but with like a gender swap, and I liked girls. But I did see one of my best friends from middle school in her, and that sort of helped me connect with her, because I was sitting there, and I was like, holy shit, this is blank. Like, this is what they would do, and this is how they would act. But they would, as opposed to her having no friends, she would come to me and talk to me about it. And it was really interesting kind of seeing that experience come to life. He doesn't use gimmicks for the sake of using gimmicks. Like, Snapchat and Instagram and shit are all in this movie, and Twitter. But he doesn't use them as like a very cheesy, cringy kind of like, oh, kids are only ever doing that. Like, it's used in an interesting manner, and a way to depict how characters feel about one another and how they communicate and how they use it to advance their image and certain things like that. There's the classic no one uses Facebook line in here. You know, everyone's got to have it, even though that's how everyone uses to invite people to grad parties. I don't know if anyone gives a shit about that. But, I mean, that was why I enjoyed this experience so much, was, like I said, I mean, high school, when they get to the high school characters, I was like, holy motherfuck, I know someone exactly like that. Like, I could point to 3 different people and be like, that's exactly who that character is. And it's just crazy. It's a very, very well done movie. I have little gripes with it. One of my gripes is, like, a good thing about it, too. One of the coolest things about it is Kayla doesn't have a mom in the movie. It's just her and the dad is great. Great comic relief, but he's also a great actor, and they give him some really great moments. And the movie was doing really well not even mentioning the fact that she doesn't have a mom. You just see it, you know, it's obviously just her and the dad, and, you know, you're getting this great, like, oh man, they're not gonna even say anything about it, because they realized that as an audience we're smart enough to understand that there was not a mom. And finally the dad goes, when your mom left, and I was like, fuck, you had it, you had it, you had it. And the scene where he does that, it's still great, but I almost wish, like, they had found a different way to have him give his little monologue as opposed to saying something about the mom, because it was like, it was so cool without them shoving the fact that the mom wasn't there down your throat, and not having Kayla constantly be like, I wish mom was here, I wish mom was here. You just see that in her. Like, you see that she kind of needs that connection, and she doesn't have it. But all of the character development is, I mean, the movie's incredible. It has little problems. But it's an immersive experience like not many other films. I don't usually have, like, experiences where I'm just so into a movie. Some were like Don't Think Twice and Call Me By Your Name, and I'd put this one with them. It's hard to tell whether this is the best movie of the year so far. It's definitely one of the best of the year so far. The big question everyone wants to ask me, Oscar buzz, question mark? Maybe. I definitely think you should look out for it for the Golden Globes, because they got to pad that comedy musical category. I absolutely think The Main Girl will be nominated for Best Actress Comedy Musical, and I definitely think the movie will be nominated for it. And I think a lot of telling, will this movie continue to hold that momentum, will come with time. It's very difficult to predict summer movies because you never know if they're going to stick around. You know, you had Dunkirk last year, which really carried through the season, but then you had Detroit, which, like, came to a screeching halt. Usually there's one summer movie that manages to transcend over all these months, and there's not a whole lot coming out in August, like there was last year. There's The Wife, which I know Glenn Close is in a lot of talks for, so we'll see. I think it'll prove to be really interesting to see where this goes, but if nothing else, I absolutely think you should look out for this at the Golden Globes in the comedy musical category, because they really got to put whatever they can in there. They always struggle to do that, and then they have some weird shit in there, so I'm sure it'll be the same this year. But I would absolutely recommend you get out to see this movie. It's a blast. It's funny. It'll make you cry, and it'll make you remember how you used to be. It's pretty crazy. So, I want to know what you guys thought of this movie. I know a lot of you wanted me to review this. I did a live stream the other day, and I got like 8 questions. Have you seen 8th Grade yet? So, those are my opinions. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. 2 little things I want to talk about. First, my new short film, Apollo, is on this channel now. It went live yesterday. There's already been an immense amount of support, and I'm unbelievably grateful for that. Thank you guys so much. We submitted it for the 48-hour film project. We got to see the screening of it the other day, and the awards ceremony in a couple weeks, so we're really interested to see if it'll pick up anything there. But the amount of support that I've been getting from it through just YouTube comments and through Instagram has been utterly insane, so thank you guys so much for that. And I'm going to be doing a Black Klansman review very soon. I have already seen it, but I'm probably going to wait until it gets a little closer to the release, just so people are more aware of when it's coming out, because I really want people to see that movie. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.